Hey everyone. Hey, I'm out here in Tecopa, California. What's standing next to me is Ross. He owns the Tecopa mines, and he's been kind enough to agree to give me a slight tour of this area. As you all know, if you watched most of my videos, I start out with a cup of McDonald's coffee most of the time, but this is better than McDonald's coffee. I got it down in Tecopa over at the Kit Fox. Is
Kit
that the name?
Fox
Yeah,
Cafe.
Kit Fox Cafe. So if you're in Tecopa, stop by and get some coffee, and we're going to go explore. Let's go explore.
Before we explore this particular area in earnest, I'd like to share with you the research that I did about the history and creation of Resting Springs Mine District, along with a few of the mines known as Tecopa mines. The written information about the beginning of this area is not really well documented. However, I did find a source that talks about in the spring of 1875, brothers William D. and Robert D. Brown, who had recently discovered silver ore in the nearby town of Darwin, west of Death Valley, was looking for fresh challenges. They found them in the form of rich but difficult to work lead and silver ore in the hills near Resting Springs along the old Spanish Trail, nearby present-day Tecopa, California. The brothers then organized a mining district originally called Brown's Treasure, later called Resting Springs. The brothers and several San Francisco capitalists, including George Hearst, who is the father of William Randolph Hearst, the famous newspaper man and publisher. They incorporated what was known as the Balance Consolidated Mining Company. Although the claims were indeed very rich in silver and lead, Hearst lost interest. Robert Brown, meanwhile, was eagerly promoting the district. He put some magnificent specimens assaying up to $900 a ton in silver on display at a San Bernardino hotel, where they attracted a large number of citizens. An article that was written in the San Bernardino Times, dated in 1876, predicted that Resting Springs would soon be one of the most lively camps on the desert. Two of the claims were the Gunsight and Noonday, which would turn out to become the district's leading mines. In January of 1878, it was reported that the smelting process was very promising. Then it became extremely difficult to run a smelter, and it became a demanding operation. Had a chronic shortage of water, made furnaces overheat, crack, and cooling jackets fail. Then, too, as the gunsight went deeper, the ore changed from an easy smelt galena to a lead carbonate, which was far more expensive to process. The ore processing plants worked only intermittently between 1879 and 1881. A party of miners from Bodie arrived in Resting Springs camp in January of 1881, just as the company was laying off its miners in the area. Although Resting Springs was a pretty little town, business was dull. They moved on to Tecopa, which stood entirely deserted. The post office closed in late May of 1881. By now, many had given up on the camp. Most all of the mines in the Resting Springs district remained dormant pretty much until about 1906, when the Tonopah and Tidewater Railroad was built. This railroad was built primarily to serve the boom towns of Rhyolite, Nevada, but it also created opportunities to restart up the Gunsight and the Noonday mines because of the proximity to the railroad. I've read several newspaper articles that go way back, most of them from the Los Angeles Times and also a few from the Inyo Independent. But it talks about the mines at Noonday and Gunsight and several starts and stops from the time about 1900 through 1910. That's when the rail spur was being built from the Tidewater and Tonopah Rail to the mine sites from the town of Tecopa. There was an article printed in the Los Angeles Times. It was dated February 28th of 1910. And the way it reads, it talks about articles of incorporation have been filed for the Tecopa Railroad Company of New Jersey. it will build a railroad 15 miles in length from the Noonday and Gunsight mining claims in the county of Inyo to a point on the Tonopah Tidewater Railroad near Tecopa, Inyo County. The Tecopa Railroad had but one engine that was dedicated to running along the spur, and it was also a special design. That special design was created by the Baldwin Locomotive Works. It was referred to as a saddle tank design due to the fact that the last 2 miles of the railroad that arrived to the mines was ascending a grade of 6.6%. The steep grades limited the hauling capacity both uphill and downhill. The story is that the locomotive and its cars that were owned by the Tecopa Railroad Company were not allowed on the main tracks of the Tidewater and Tonopah, primarily due to the fact that because of the steep grades to the mines, they had to lock up the train as they were going downhill, and it created flat spots on the wheels. So when the train reached the transfer point at the Tonopah and Tidewater, the ore cars had to be offloaded and loaded into the normal cars of the Tonopah and Tidewater. This greatly increased the freighting cost. Now that I've given you a brief history of the beginnings of the Resting Springs district and the Tecopa mines, let's go do what we originally set out to do, and that's explore the area.
Here's an opening to one of the shafts here, up here in the Tecopa mines. I believe he said this was
the Columbia mine.
filming and checking it out.
Yeah, this was
some big timbers here.
sorry. Yeah, with basically lead and silver. They fall together in a mix called galena.
I see.
And they're pulling a lot of that out of here. Plus, you'll see some copper, zinc, iron oxides.
Now that metal door over there, is that another magazine or is that another mine path?
That's another drift that goes back there. That's
Gotcha.
an air door. So that's probably a little more modern. I'm not sure what they were doing in there with some concrete footers, but nothing else is back there. It just goes back in for a few hundred yards, and it's out of the air current, so it's kind of stale back
I
there.
see. So it gets stale back there. So this,
yeah.
You can see a lot of the shoring in here. And you also
none of these timbers are nailed or spiked into place. They're all just set up, and they're shimmed in place. And back then, again, timbers were expensive, and it took time away from ore extraction. So they didn't put a timber up just willy-nilly.
Right.
Every timber you're going to see in this mine was put up there for
a thoughtful reason. Yeah.
Yeah, that timber had to be there for a reason.
Cool. Hey, Ross, again, thanks for taking me through this. It's very interesting. I'm curious, how did you come across these mines to begin with?
Well, I was sitting there at work, wasting government time, looking at retirement property, and I happened to run across an old ad placed by the last owner years back that described the parcels he had out here for sale, secluded, off-grid property, desert, mountain views. Some properties had mine tunnels on. Just sounded interesting, so I sent him an email. He wrote back, and it sounded too good to be true, but I did my homework and found out it probably was true, so I came out here to look at the place, instantly fell in love with it, and year and a half later, here we are.
Good for you. So you took possession about a year and a half ago? Is what you're saying?
Last December.
Last December. Okay. And I'm sorry, I may have missed it. Did you say you acquired this from a corporation or from an individual?
No, I got it from an individual, actually a small
Gotcha.
group of individuals here
Gotcha.
local, mostly in the Tecopa area, who owned this place previously for a number of years.
Right. So is your intent to make this an active mine, or are you just restoring it? What's your intent?
Yeah, I'm a retiree now. I'm just sitting out here to enjoy the property, enjoy the history. I want to share it with people who have the common interests. So if people want to come out, I'll take them, I'll show them around. I'm just trying to basically preserve it as it was as best I can, cleaning up the graffiti and the litter, restoring as many of the old artifacts as I can, putting stuff on display. But for the most part, it's just going to stay like it is. It's never going to be worked again. I tried chopping some silver out one afternoon. It was too hard. I gave up.
All right, thanks, man, for that information. Hey, also for you, those that you may want to come out and take a look at this, you make sure you contact Ross beforehand. He doesn't like people showing up unannounced. And Ross, where can they best reach you at? What would be the best way?
Tecopa Mines, all one word, at gmail.com.
Okay.
TECOPAMINES at gmail.com. You also find me through my Facebook page, Ross Dykman, Dykman at Facebook, or the YouTube page, Tecopa Mines at YouTube. That's pretty much it. I'm easy to find. And if you wind up in the area, pretty much any of the businesses around here can direct you out to me or get you my contact information.
Great. Thanks, Ross. I appreciate that. And then also, just as part of his restoration, this takes a little bit of money. So he certainly doesn't mind any donations that you guys might want to throw his way. It'll help him
Donations
out.
are wonderful. Timbers aren't cheap.
All right. Thanks, Ross. Let's continue.
All right. Watch yourself.
Hey, Cleo, mine dog. There he is. She. Cleo's one of his dog companions up here. She usually go with you on these mine?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You can see the stoping over here. Just
Oh, yeah.
imagine working at that angle.
Right. Yeah,
That was
just
all the-
none of this was easy, obviously. I mean, my gosh.
This older section, that what I've done with hand tools,
Right.
hand drills, carbide lamps or lanterns,
That's pretty incredible.
candles. And I've been down on the level below this. I still can't find where that
Wow.
comes out. I just know it does. I can feel air down there, but I haven't been able to find the
No.
connection yet.
So, I'm sorry, you said you've been down there?
Yeah. I've been on the
Wow.
level below us, but I
Uh-huh.
can't find the actual connection point. I
Gotcha.
feel the air moving through, which just frustrates it. I
Uh-huh.
know there's an opening, but
Right.
I'm looking up.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Come on, Cleo. Got all the band right there. They're
Mhm.
still working. Look how nice and thick this wood is.
Yeah. That's the original
Yeah, this
rough
was
sawn timbers, right?
came off the trees cut down in the Sierra Nevada.
In the Sierras, yeah.
Milled, brought in here on the train, and this is stuff everybody tries to get.
Yeah. Wow, this is truly one of the better, more well-preserved mines I've been in. This is fantastic.
So you ain't seen nothing yet. You see those little striations up there?
Right.
Pick marks.
What kind of marks?
Pick. Chip, chip,
Oh,
chip,
okay,
chip.
okay. Pick.
You'll see a lot of that in these areas.
Right.
As we cross over, we get an area where it's widened out. There's a little more mechanization involved.
Uh-huh. Is that where the more modern
Yeah.
process was happening? What is that right there? An ore sack?
Yeah. Piece of old burlap
Yeah.
sack. And you'll find that all through because that's how they move materials back. In the
Right,
day.
right.
So, any of the ones that were intact or had labeling on are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Please step over this way. There's one board over here that's loose.
Okay.
It's a solid board. If you step on it, it rattles and drops like an inch and gives people heart attacks.
Yeah. Well, I would be one of those. It's a long ways.
Every once in a while.
It's a long ways to drag me out of here.
And you've seen the head frame and the ore trestle up top. That's at 200 feet below.
My goodness.
That's the shaft that goes up, and you can go down there if you like. It's all safe and solid.
Across here.
Yeah, just right across. You can see we're starting to try to burn this station too. You can walk right in there and step down there. It's all perfectly solid. Do it all the time.
Now, does this shaft? Is this one that goes to the surface by your place?
No, this is the one that goes to the surface up by the
Okay.
that old tramway to the railroad.
Oh, okay.
Cleo. Yeah, you can look down and see. Cleo, hey, what's the matter? You're fine, honey. You can look down. There's 2 levels below us at this point. I'm probably going to be opening the 300 level, 100 feet below us, up for tours. And you can see up to the top there. You go down there. Cleo. Kind of little girl here. She's not a fan of these boards.
No, yeah.
They're okay, girl.
It's like a cattle guard to him.
Yeah. I'd rather have a dog that's a little scared.
Yeah, a little cautious, right?
And one that does dumb stuff and falls down a hole. I don't want to go down there to get you. In this area, it comes wide a little more because they were bringing ore cars through here.
Right.
And they were dumping them into that shaft over there, and then it would go up the surface. There's a couple old period pieces.
So what would they just lift it up there with a pulley system on there when they would go up to the surface?
Winch up top, a steam hoist.
Right.
You'd have dedicated cars that ran up and down that shaft. They just dump the ore into those cars and take them out and dump them into the bit up there. And another car would take them down to the train. And you can see how this stuff just does not rust. That's one of our little spikes for the railroad.
That's for the rail here inside the shaft
here.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Whoops, it helps if I have it in the lens.
A lot of those were handmade too.
Yeah. So this would have been the early era.
My assumption that would have been probably the second era.
40s maybe is what you're thinking? Yeah.
This mine was all done in the 40s.
You can still see the ties.
And you'll see this along with these shear walls. This is a fault. Most of these mines are along fault lines because during the geologic process, the minerals in solution were deposited in the fault cracks, and that's where we're getting our ore. And when they're blasting here, it cleave one half of it away and leave the other half there, and you got the smoothness in the striation where the rock was moving against each other over the centuries and eons. When I explained that to one tourist from San Francisco last year, he had a mini panic attack and wanted to leave immediately.
Fault line.
They're hard to work, but there's still some cool artifact up there that I'm bringing down here to show people because I can't bring people up there to see it.
Yeah, so how far did you go up there, you say?
Well, I've been all the way.
Really? All the way to the surface?
I start at the top and work my way down and I come out here.
Gotcha.
Again, gravity works for removing rocks and moving, fat old woman guys. I'll start at the top, I'll work my way down, and eventually I'm going to hit this level because everything comes through here.
Right.
So,
and how far from the surface is this? Right here?
200 feet, or on the 200 level.
200 level, okay. I want to see this other. There's another one of those pegs right there in the.
Yeah. Watch it.
Yeah.
Hey, Cleo. What? Sit down. Hey. Sit. 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 Chubby. There you go. How you doing? You get a good girl. We're going to tire you out so you sleep really alone this afternoon, huh? The pneumatic drills came online. First, the 2-man and the 1-man.
Yeah.
You could do a lot more drilling, but they also caused all the labor strikes in the mines because you eliminated half your workforce.
Right.
Scoops.
Plus it created a lot of dust in the mines too, I believe, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah, those early drills keep up a ton of dust. People breathe it in.
Very
silicosis. Yeah, you die from that.
Yeah, and very difficult to handle. They were big pieces of equipment, right?
The first ones, there were 2-man drills. It took 2 men to operate one. But again, by World War I, they were down to the 1-man drill. They were running water through the drill bits then because the water would
kind of cool the dust and keep the
dust down, and it would cool the bits so they lasted longer. So your miners last longer, your bits last longer. The company really liked that last part.
So this writing here, Ross, what is that writing right there? Okay, 9 hours to
100 level. It's writing over writings here, trying to figure out what
I see, okay.
The darker one says to the 100 level.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, actually. And I'll show you more of this here, but this down here is IWW. And you'll see that scroll all through.
And what is that the IWW? Would that be the mining company of any kind?
International Workers of the World, the old Wobblies Union.
Okay.
They were a very powerful labor union back before World War I. They believe that workers should own the means of production. They were started by Mother Jones and Big Bill Haywood and a lot of the other big activist agitators back in the day. And that's the last thing any mine owner wanted to see, because you had in your mind you were going to have problems.
I see. Okay. They were in control.
Well, they were a factor. They weren't in control because the companies ruled with an iron fist, which is why you had the big battles in most of the mine districts during the strikes.
Right.
Where folks from both sides had no problem shooting the other. And the IWW was finally put paid to, when World War I came along, they opposed the U.S. entry into the war. They started staging slowdowns and strikes in the copper districts, and the government said, that's enough, and started jailing them, deporting them, and pretty much broke their back.
Yeah, there was a lot of union unrest in those period of time, wasn't there?
But, the only ones that were probably more vicious than some of the union agitators were the mine company special police. Anaconda especially, they employed quite a number of folks whose sole job was kill them.
Yeah, busting heads, right?
Story that I found, which has some pretty good content in it. You can see it's got some nice weight to it.
Right.
I probably tumbled off of an ore car in here sometime. And
beautiful.
I still haven't been back up in air. That's one of the things I got to do is get back up in air. So these mines accumulate about 20 miles worth of workings. And
is there that much?
Yeah, there's still a lot I haven't seen. You just can't be everywhere. A lot of it is, it's either way back in or it's hazardous to work into, but I can't do it by myself.
Right.
Come over here. Here we got a survey tag up here. And one of the old square nails.
Oh yeah.
That's a very old handmade. That is before pre-turn of the century. This space out now. This is going to be my museum space for the community back in here. Once I get the gates finished, and I may run some LED solar power back in here just to lighten it up. But
now, what do you say? A hoist perhaps was here? Is that what you say?
It would have been to haul all that
up
cars
above?
up out of the shaft below us.
Now, have you been up that ladder?
It just leads up into the work yachts.
Into the working area? Yeah. I got you.
That's not the most stable. That one, just because it's more exposed. This area gets a little more weathering because we're closer to the outside.
Are we?
We're a little more cautious in here. And a lot of these timbers, I think that they're repurposed rail ties or something.
I see.
What you doing? What you doing? Hi. Get your nose all dirty, huh?
You can just jump right up there and does her exploring. Cleo, right?
Yep, Cleopatra.
Hey, Cleo. How's it going, Cleo? Thanks for being our guide today, or at least in part. And each level is how far down?
About 100 feet apart. The second and third are now one big level because I think they took out too much rock in between and they collapsed into each other.
Right.
And there is a connection to the War Eagle mine down at the bottom of this, if you know the route. So I do take people into the War Eagle and through that circuitous route back up here eventually. That's my 3-hour adventure tour. And this ladder is probably one of the best ladders.
Is it in good shape? Yeah. Look, I mean, it looks like it from here.
It's well over 100 years old, but it's pretty good, yeah. And each one of the lower levels themselves is its own little exploration time capsule. They're all a little different. A lot of the old graffiti down there, more artifact. There's a lot fewer people have been down there.
Do I see? Is that just some kind of cable? It's not wiring, right? It's not
that wire there.
Just
like a control,
a cable,
a bell or something.
Right.
Yeah, there was no electricity back in there.
Yeah.
And here I got some newspaper. Some was found here, some I found on the lower level and kind of aggregated here. 2 different papers from 1920. I'm going to try to get this out if I can find some preservationist or some college intern who can separate these pages and laminate them together in the proper order.
Right, and then restore them.
So we can hang them and
And
show
I'm sorry,
people.
when did you say some of these were? I don't see. 20s?
The National Tribune from Washington, D.C. was October 14th of 1920. And there's a Los Angeles paper over there, the Los Angeles Examiner. Again, same date ranging.
So mostly from the 20s is
Right.
what you're seeing? So, hey, Ross, I really appreciate you allowing me to come out here and spending better part of a day with you and you touring me through the Noonday Mine. It was fantastic up here in Tecopa. And I wanted to remind those that see this video or want to come up and visit the property, please make sure that you contact Ross ahead of time. And Ross, would you remind the folks what's the best way to contact you?
Sure. Get me an email, Tecopa Mines, all one word, TCOPAMINES @gmail.com, or Ross Dykman, DYKMAN, on Facebook, or Tecopa Mines at YouTube. And you can reach me through any of those mediums. And if you want to come on out and see the place, I'd like to show it off. So.
All right. Thanks again, Ross. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Well, how was that for an adventure? I thoroughly enjoyed going inside that mine and taking that tour. Make sure if you guys are out there doing any exploration around old mines that you don't go into the ones that are unstable and unsafe. There's so much information out there in that particular location that I've got to go ahead and make another or second video. And so this is episode 1, and I'm going to go out there and gather a little bit more information to make a video 2, so make sure you stay tuned and watch for that one. Also, make sure that if you guys do go out there, pay attention to posted property that's private. Make sure you got permission to get on that property should you go visit these kind of places. And I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed the video as much as I did taking the tour. Check back later.